Hello everyone, today we are talking about a new product and I'm very excited for this because it's creepy, it's gothy, and it's also Planescape. What is this?
This is Adventure Atlas, the Mortuary. This is a supplement for Planescape. You do not need to have purchased Planescape to engage with this supplement. All you need are the core rulebooks. This is an exploration of one of Sigel's megastructures, the Mortuary.
It's not so much an adventure, but it's more like an in-depth exploration of the area. So like it's just going to give you background. It's going to give you some like creatures to like play with, and also it's going to flesh out some of the areas like in the mortuary, so that you can kind of understand how this area works in relation to Planescape.
Awesome. And like all of the books that we have coming out, they are all compatible with like the 2024 core rule books and the past rule books. So it's all one big thing.
Look, it's the past, it's the future, it's what is time in Planescape anyway. But yes, this is the headquarters of the Heralds of Dust, one of Sigel's many factions.
What did you enjoy about making this? Because there's a lot of art and there are a lot of great hooks to create adventures.
I am a fan of all things spooktacular. It is very appropriate that this is coming out around Halloween. I love undead and goth energy, both of which you get in this supplement. But I think it's also just interesting to get so many maps for one location, and each of these maps that are in this supplement are so flexible. You can use them if you're exploring the mortuary for the first time or the 10th time, or even if you just want to take something from the mortuary and put it in your game.
I actually was able to sneak into one of the art meetings, and you were actually showing this off, and I was very excited because I like very creepy gothy things. Like what was most exciting about this for you?
I mean, the fact that like all of a sudden I'm like being thrust in a project where I can actually like start drawing and ideating and like collaborating with other people. Like my background is a designer primarily, so like I stepped into an art director position. But like I draw for a living, like that's what I do. So like being suddenly presented with a project that has like basically all the things that I love, like skulls, bones, things like that. I was like, please draw stuff about this, It's like, it's great, Like it's a really great case scenario for me to be like, okay, I can do this.
And you also, we have a leader for this particular location, right?
Yes, the Factol, if you will, is Factol Skull. He is a Lich, he is very old, and he's in an advanced state of deterioration. In fact, he is little more than a couple tiny little hands and a not so adorable skull that drift through the halls of the mortuary, scouring the multiverse for the secrets of true death, the annihilation sublime.
What I like about this is the locations are so interesting. And plus I also I like the weird, creepy organization of these bodies have to go somewhere.
Yes.
But, and we were just talking about this actually, like some of the art you may not notice immediately in the maps, but there are pneumatic tubes that shoot dead bodies around or to the mortuary.
Of course, everything you love about the way when you visit your local brick and mortar bank, add bodies, let them hit the floor, let them hit each of the floors. Yes, the Heralds of Dust have developed all sorts of very interesting and almost industrial ways of caring for the dead. Sigel is home to thousands and thousands of creatures, but the only way in or out of the city is through portals. So you start to wonder, how do you get bodies back to where they're supposed to go? How do they get to the afterlife? What do you do when a soul gets trapped inside Sigel or the mortuary? And this supplement explores all of those things and more.
The Factol is in fact statted out.
Yes, he's terrifying. You should not fight him.
No.
There are also two other stat blocks. There's one, a more adorable thing, which is an animated coffin. Yes. So whether you are a vampire that is paranoid of being staked in the heart during the day and you want to skitter about while you're taking your morning snooze, or if you are a mummy parading around in a construct sarcophagus, this animated coffin, you can see them roaming the halls of the mortuary, ferrying corpses, whether alive or dead, to different parts of the mortuary.
I would like to see the email where like, we need you to do an animated coffin. I'm like, okay,
I mean, like when that came, like the brief came, I was like, okay, I already know where this needs to go. I kind of wish that we could like even like animate it to show the action on it, because like in my head it's super clear how it's supposed to be. But yeah, like when we did it, like the direction was like always gonna be like creepy legs, unstable, kind of moving around, like lumbering, and just like sort of like the soulless mechanism that is part of like the mortuary. So yeah, and I think that like what we got, it was a very successful interpretation of that idea.
There's also a really cool exorcist, which takes some inspiration from media involving exorcism. They are quite good at expelling souls from other creatures and harmful spirits, and sometimes making their enemies more permeable to these malicious entities.
This being a mortuary in Planescape, there's a little bit of a side hustle happening. You can get some parts.
The best kind of side hustle, yes.
Yeah.
One of the services that the Heralds of Dust has available to player characters and anyone in Sigil is the purchasing of grisly spell components. So if you're thumbing through your spell book or through the spells in the player's handbook and you're wondering, where am I going to get a fingernail or some hair or maybe just a little bone every once in a while, you can show up at the mortuary and you can get somebody else's. Whose fingernail is it? Doesn't matter. It's what you need for the spell, and it probably costs just a couple copper for a modest fee.
Is there like a location that's one of your favorites in here? Because there are like some really great locations. There's maps,
sure.
and then you've got like adventure hooks and ideas for dungeon masters, like what they can use this for.
Yeah, I think of all of them, my favorite location is corpse shipping and receiving. There is something so visceral and exciting about the idea of just these corpses slumping through these tubes, and that kind of industrial nature of picking up the corpse, looking at the toe tag, moving it to the next place, putting it through another tube. Another one of the locations that I find interesting is the Spirit Sump. It's kind of this big, toilet isn't the right word, but it is this chamber, this reservoir of these souls that need to be essentially flushed out of Sigil. And so it works through this manual mechanism where they gather in this kind of like necrotic soup, if you will.
Yeah.
And the characters can go there and fight a host of these incorporeal creatures, and also give them a little flush and get them out of there.
There is also an orrery as well.
Yes, Factol Skull has this Orrery of Souls that he uses to search the multiverse for the secrets of true death. Todd, what would you say to me if I told you that all of this is a false existence? You and I, we are already dead.
Yeah.
The only way to ascend to the next life is to become even deader. Past zombie, past white, past even Lich.
All been done. All been done.
All been done. Well then, mosey on down to the mortuary and check out the Orrery of Souls, because there is certainly another secret to be found. Now this Orrery is this big mechanism, this big machine formed from bones and spinal columns of some unknown behemoth, where the Factol of the Heralds of Dust, Factol Skull, is basically like looking into souls, kind of like Professor Xavier and that, I don't remember what it's called, but that thing, that thing. Cerebro, yeah. It's kind of like Factol Skull's Cerebro, but for souls across every plane, across the multiverse. He's looking at it. And things come out of it sometimes, and they're not good things.
What did you like about the art?
I mean, like the best one for me is like the Orrery. I think the Factol Skull's Orrery is like the most like grand and creepy and terrifying area in the whole place. And it shows in the image, like Andrea Piparo, who did the illustration, is just a phenomenal like action shot while still also giving you an idea of how this area is supposed to kind of work, in conjunction with obviously the text and whatnot. Like it'll give you a clearer picture of what Factol Skull is trying to do.
Tell me about the Path of Graves.
Yeah, so the Path of Graves is this hub of portals within the mortuary. So it is aptly named as the Path of Graves. There are many graves, there are many coffins, and many of them have a portal through which characters can enter or leave the mortuary. So essentially, if you're looking at this, you're really excited about the mortuary, you love undead, maybe you want to run a spooky campaign or series of adventures, you can use the Path of Graves as a campaign hub. The Factol Skull might ask the characters to conduct last rites for a collection of creatures on other planes, and the characters might find themselves going through different portals of the Path of Graves to accomplish this. Of course, it's another way the characters might just happen upon the mortuary. They're walking through a cemetery in some other world, and they pass through a mausoleum, and they find themselves in this hub.
I love the creepiness of that. That again, it brings to mind like the fact that you just have this kind of like grave area that can portal out to all the places of death.
It's foggy, it's creepy, so chic, so undead.
Given there are all these little adventure hooks, there's also encounter tables. So that are like great fodder for something very creepy and grisly and fun to happen.
Yeah, the mortuary, because of its size, all of these megastructures and sigils, they are less locations as they are kind of unique wildernesses to be explored. So kind of if you're in the Forgotten Realms and you're exploring the Underdark, that's kind of what it is to roam the mortuary. So as characters are either moving through the mortuary, trying to escape it, or just conducting an errand within it, they might have any sort of encounters. Now we have 3 tiers of encounters, from tiers 1, tiers 2, tiers 3, for characters to become embroiled in, ranging from impromptu funerals that they might be asked to say something about the departed, to processions of skeletons and undead, even to some less savory and more combat-focused encounters that they might bump into along the way.
So we also have another location, the Never Vault.
Yes.
What is contained?
Isn't that the question, Todd? Isn't that the question? So the Never Vault is it's kind of this storage vault for these deathless entities in Sigil. They're not quite ghosts, they're not quite spirits. They're these things that refuse to proceed to the next stage of the afterlife and linger. And you can't really flush them out. So what do? You put them in these big old crypts deep within the mortuary, where they are heavily guarded at any given time. But every once in a while, as any good adventure will be, one of these will slip out, and you'll have things like the Necrocore from Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, this kind of not quite a lich, not quite undead, not quite alive. Actually, it's probably technically an undead by type.
It's pretty undead.
It's undead. Yeah. It's pretty undead. Might spill out of that, and the characters might have to help scoop old boy back up and put him in his crypt.
Perfect.
Is that good?
I love this so much. This was made for just me, pretty much.
Yes.
Well, no, hopefully for a lot of other people who are also creepy-minded. But I love this thing.